Let's pencil that in for, say, 2023.
Anybody remember the movie Talk to Me from 2023? I love that film. I think it was the best horror film of that year. It was clever and well directed. It was a hell of a debut for brothers Danny and Michael Philippou. It was critically acclaimed and financially successful. But, the history of Hollywood is filled with directors who make a big splash in their first movie, but follow it up with failure. The biggest example I could think of is Neil Blomkamp's District 9. That was a great film. He followed that up with Elysium, and that film sucked. It was a bomb. Now, this past weekend gave us the second film directed by the brothers Danny and Michael. This film, called Bring Her Back, dropped in the theaters last weekend. So what do we have here? Is this yet another example of one-hit wonders? People who make one good movie and then flop? Or is this a really good, solid follow-up and maybe a sign of good things to come? Well, before we answer that, let's talk a little bit about the plot for the film Bring Her Back.
You want to talk? Let's talk.
So here we find Andy and his young, visually impaired stepsister Piper. They are placed in foster care after discovering their father died from a slip in the shower. They are taken in by Laura, a seemingly kind foster care mother, and her mute foster child Oliver. Laura tells them that her daughter Kathy, who was also visually impaired, drowned in the backyard pool. However, the longer they stay with Laura, the more they start discovering that she is not the kind foster mother she seems to be, and there may be much more going on here with Oliver. And as we learn more about Laura and her past, we discover that she has sinister plans for both Andy and Piper. So what works in this film? Well, let's start with some of the acting. Sally Hawkins, she plays Laura. And it's a pretty big get for this kind of film, since she is a multiple award-winning actress. She's been nominated for Academy Awards as well as BAFTAs. She's brilliant here. From the very beginning, you can sense that something is not quite right with her, but you can't put your finger on it. And the way it builds up, the tension and fear is just brilliant acting. Her descent into madness is disturbing and brilliant. Actor Billy Barrett is strong. He plays Andy. The character is a deeply traumatized and guilt-ridden teen who has to hold himself together to take care of his disabled sister, who he clearly loves. His attempt to hold himself together to protect Piper is a masterclass of acting, especially for such a young performer. He's only 17 years old. And finally, kudos to directors Danny and Michael for bringing us on this ride. The tension builds up slowly throughout the film, and the brothers get the most out of the set and the cast.
That's disturbing.
What doesn't work here, however, is, like I mentioned, it builds up slow, maybe a little too slow. It's a really, really slow burn. It takes a real long time to get started. Now, once it does, you're fully engaged, but getting to that point can be a bit of a slog. Also, and this isn't really a negative as much as a warning, this film is not for everyone. It's over-the-top gory at times. I won't spoil it, I'm just saying be warned. And, finally, it's bleak, man. There is no other way to put it. Again, not going to spoil it. I'm not going to say it has a sad or a happy ending. Just understand that what you're getting into is a bleak, dark film. This is not your standard either gore fest or supernatural type of movie. Again, not necessarily a negative. I thought the ending could have been a little bit stronger. I didn't hate it, but I left feeling that it could have gone in a stronger, better direction. Look, I think this is an exceptional film from these brothers. It is definitely not a one-hit wonder situation. I think it's not a misstep. It's superbly acted. It's wonderfully directed. But it's very dark, very bleak, and sometimes overly gory, with some unbelievably unsettling scenes. If you like Talk to Me, and you are looking for something dark and grim to watch in the horror genre, I fully recommend this film. I enjoyed it, but be warned,
scary, but it was so good.
I'm so
Well, that's all I have for this week. Tune in next week where I give you my thoughts and feelings on whatever I've seen. In the meantime, click that like button, subscribe, leave a comment or a question, share this video with friends and enemies alike, and as always, thank you for giving me your valuable time, and I'll see you next week.